Hello, and welcome to Too Stupid to Live, a podcast that reviews romance novels $5 and under. I'm your host, Becky Feldman, and it is oh so good to be back, especially in the midst of the High Holy Days, which I remembered this year because, especially today, we are reviewing a contemporary Jewish Rosh Hashanah romance that I loved, by the way. Did I just spoil the episode? Yeah, I guess maybe I did, but who knows? Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Anyway, the book my guests and I are reviewing today is Coming Home to You by Rebecca Crawley. It is currently $3.99. I have links to purchase the book in today's show notes and on the episode page at tstlpodcast.com. Also on tstlpodcast.com, there's a new page called More Stupid Stuff, where you can get information on what upcoming books we're reviewing, appearances I've made on other podcasts, recommendations, and other fun stuff I'll think of to post. I just posted right now a list of romance novels that we reviewed on the show, which are now discounted for Amazon Prime's Big Deal Days. So please check that out if you're interested in books that you want to save money on and that I recommend and that also like cool book talk people recommend. You know what? It's not just like me who has good taste. We all have good taste. So check out that list. It is in today's show notes. Anyway, I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. He is trading his perspective on Jewish cinema for Jewish romance novels. Daniel Zana, an editor, filmmaker, and co-host of the podcast Jews on Film, is joining me today. And I had so much fun recording this episode. I actually celebrated Rosh Hashanah this year, and I am counting the joy I felt from this episode as part of my celebration. And you know what? You will too. So, Lashana Tova, that means Happy New Year to everyone. And please enjoy this review of Coming Home to You. Oh my goodness, Daniel from Jews on Film, welcome to this podcast, Too Stupid to Live.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here to discuss, this book.
I am so excited you're here. I had such a great time when I was a guest on your podcast. I keep talking about how much fun we had. So
Oh,
it just means so much that you're here.
yeah, for sure. And it's kind of I feel like this is a good pairing because on your episode of Jews on Film, we did the movie Made for Each Other.
Hmm.
Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of introduced me to the world of, of romance and romantic novels and tropes and things like that. And I don't know if, I don't know much about that world, so I'm excited to kind of learn, sit at the feet of the master and learn a little bit more, you know.
Awesome. You know what's so funny is that we reviewed a Hallmark movie for your show that was about a golem. And it was, we it was very Hallmarky, but recently I did come across a golem romance novel over the
Oh,
summer and
okay.
it was saucy. It was a
It was
saucy and that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Okay. And then like I know with movies they have like movie ratings. When you look at a romance novel, do you kind of know the spicy level of it?
Yeah, because like I feel like one you like if it's like because like a lot of people like follow certain authors, so
Mhm.
it's like this is an author that just writes bonkers stuff, and sexy bonkers stuff. So I just knew like it was just gonna be fun, like, and I mean this reverently, like smut.
Mhm.
Um, I think, but then at the same time, a lot of authors will kind of say in like the book description, like on their Amazon page or on their newsletters or whatever, just like kind of how steamy it is, just
Mhm.
so no one's like coming into something thinking they're gonna read like, you know, whatever, and then it ends up being like something completely different.
Right, right, right. Yeah. I don't want to spoil it too much, but this wasn't, this was like fairly like I think PG-13 maybe.
It was so PG-13. I was like, maybe even like slightly PG in the sense that like there is a sex scene, but it wasn't like really explicit. It felt more like the way they write it was more poetic than
Yes.
like this was here
Yes.
and that was there and like da da da.
Yeah, euphemisms were used. I feel like there was like something about like light and like a lot of euphemisms and things like that. Not sort
Yes.
of what I understand. It can get quite a bit more graphic. So
Hmm.
this was like pretty, but it felt like a movie in that way, in that like we're kind of like, ups and downs. And then we finally get to that, you know, I guess what a lot of people are waiting for, which is
Hmm.
that sex scene. And then, yeah, it's pretty descriptive, but not like apparently as descriptive as it could be, but
Right.
but it was
Yeah.
like it felt like it was a long time coming for these two.
It was. Yeah,
You
they
know.
really was like so this book falls into like kind of the trope of like a second chance romance. They were
Hmm.
high school sweethearts and then they reconnected. But I want to ask you like you are a film person. I want to ask you one, have you ever like skimmed through or read a romance novel before in your lifetime? And two, your thoughts on like the rom-com genre of cinema in general.
Sure. Um, I don't think I've read a romance novel before, not knowingly. Like I
Mhm.
may have. I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I don't think I have. I guess I would know if I have, wouldn't
Yeah, I know. I'm
I?
just like picturing you like, oops, 50 Shades of Grey is in my
Yeah.
hands.
Well, it's like I have like another book, but inside is like 50 Shades of Grey, and I'm just like
Exactly.
hiding it on the subway.
Don't
Oh,
be ashamed.
I miss taking the subway and being able to like read and like judge other people what on oh
Hmm.
they're reading that. And then the genre itself, well, not a movie, but I am watching, and I might bring it up again more, the show Nobody Wants This
I am
on
so
Netflix.
glad you are. I watched it this weekend and
Yeah.
reading this at the same time was so interesting.
Oh yeah. And so like that's something that I may be drawing from that a little bit more this episode. But classic rom-coms like When Harry Met Sally, I think are great. Bridget Jones's Diary, Notting Hill.
Mhm.
I think they're great in telling their hallmarks of the genre and things like that. And I think they're enjoyable for
Yeah.
sure.
Is it like a genre you would flock to? Like what was your first like you had a bad day, you're home, you have any movie you want to watch, like what's
Mm.
the movie
Ooh.
or TV show?
It depends on the kind of mood I'm in. I feel like the other day I like turned on like Rebel Ridge, which is like that Netflix show about the guy who's like going around and like beating up cops and
Mhm.
because he's unjustly arrested initially. And I was like, I just need something that I can kind of like zone out on. But
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
times I'm like, let me dig up that like 3 hour Criterion movie that I've been like waiting for. And so um yeah, just sort of depends. I don't know that a rom-com is one that I would like pick. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just like dead inside or something. Who
I mean,
knows?
I think first of all, I think we all are.
Yeah.
And no, but I get it. I feel like talking to a lot of people and I feel this way too as someone who reads romance novels, but there
Yeah.
is like we all have a little bit of like some level of like cynicism in ourselves.
Mm.
And
Hmm.
these stories are so pure and genuine and vulnerable and it
Right.
just unapologetically so, which there's something about it that's like it can be too much, after you've had a long day.
Right. And I think it's also like as someone who like watches a lot of movies, uh, you can kind of like telegraph where things are going. So
Hmm.
like, okay, so like, I mean, I guess I movies are like that. So maybe I shouldn't disparage rom-coms specifically, but you can kind of be like, all right, well, I mean, truly the movie that we watched, the
Hmm.
Made for Each Other movie, I was, I had not seen anything like it. And it was like such a fun movie because it kind of subverted a lot of the normal, the fact that it was like supernatural based and things like that. Did you see Lisa Frankenstein?
Not yet. It's on my like to be watched list.
If we're calling that a rom-com, then I feel like I watched that and thoroughly enjoyed that one.
Okay.
Just because it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a guy and a girl, but like the guy happens to be a monster and he's undead, and she's like doing all this horrific stuff to
Hmm.
support his, journey back to being a human and
Hmm.
or so I guess I do watch movies, but and then there was another one. I see I'm breaking all my own rules. There was another movie um with Zosha Mamet
Hmm.
and um uh the gentleman from SNL who was on like one season. He's a Greek guy.
Oh,
Uh oh, can I look it up real
yes,
quick?
100%. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I would describe it as like When Harry Met Sally, but in space.
yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it really like it was really so interesting,
Hmm.
and I want to give it credit. So
Sure.
I want to get it right. So
Yeah.
pardon me.
All good.
It is called Molly and Max in the Future,
Okay.
starring Aristotle Athari and Zosha Mamet. directed by
Okay.
Michael Luke Litvak,
Okay. Okay,
and
cool.
very much Harry Met Sally. Like lots, it's just them in conversation in different times in of their lives.
Mhm.
Um, will they, won't they, that kind of thing. But it's really well done. So those are two movies that I recently watched that are rom-coms. So I guess I am lying. I do watch romantic comedies. They just have to be a little bit different, I think.
Sure, sure. It's like really interesting hearing you talk about it because like sometimes I'll like listen to like, whatever podcasts with authors kind of talking about their process and like it feels like writing a romance novel does use the same process as like writing a screenplay. Like there's
Hmm.
so many similarities, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you know that like they need to start somewhere and they need to end up somewhere. But I wonder, are there like romantic novels where they don't end up together? That's like a deliberate choice, like a not
Um
happy ending.
That is, you just brought up a hot topic button in the or whatever. It is it's a pretty hot topic, I think, in recent decades where there are people who believe, or they're not people, the publishers, say that if it has to have a happily ever after if it's a romance. If it
Hmm.
ends tragically, that is not a romance.
Right.
And I think most of the community of romance readers accept that and want that. Like they want the happily ever after just because of like for me personally, the nature of it, it's very, you want something easy. I don't want something that's tragic. I'm just not in the mood for tragedy. That said, I have read some great, I mean, there are great love stories out there where they don't
Sure.
end up together. I just don't know if like in terms of like if that manuscript was put on the desk of someone who works at Harlequin, I don't think they would be like, why didn't you write a romance? Despite it being a powerful love story. It just
Hmm.
doesn't fall into the category of like like romantic fiction, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because like I think about like Romeo and Juliet, like
Hmm.
that's a classic, and like they both die, right? Do they?
Hmm.
They both die, right?
They both die.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Okay, and but that's like known as like one of the, I don't know, one of the more classic, romance
Yeah.
novels, right? Or
Star or romance like star-crossed lovers, it
yes,
is a it is kind of like the romantic standard of like people on opposite sides, like and just
yeah,
like love it is the standard of like love above all else, even though
right,
they die, but like
right. Yeah.
in
Oh
this
well.
one they let, whatever. Um but like it's interesting because like I was thinking about the movie. I think it was A Portrait of a Woman on Fire. Did you see that?
Mm-mm. What's
Um,
that?
it's about a woman. It's a period piece about like two women who fall in love with each other, and they just the ending is it's a tragic ending, but there's a positive element to it that like I'm like this could be a romance, but then like everyone I know who have seen it, they're like no, that's sad, and I'm like okay, never mind.
But I mean, if they have like a good connection at some point in the movie, even if they don't end up together, is that not like a what you'd call like a romance movie or?
I feel like in I think I would call it a romance movie. I just wouldn't call I feel like if that story were in a published book and it was marketed as a romance, like I just don't think readers would qualify that as a romance, as great as the story could be. Like I've read some fantastic books where it's such a great love story, but it's not like on romance bloggers website it's not going to be listed under
Mm,
like books I recommend, but it would be listed under like Reese Witherspoon's book club, if you will.
sure, 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 sure. Is is like Goodreads the equivalent for books as like Letterboxd is for movies, kind of? That's the
It's
one.
yeah, it slowly is becoming that. I do think that like Goodreads like it's it's interesting because I do think I guess Letterbox is so new and Goodreads I think is older, so I think Goodreads
Hmm.
like can have its levels of toxicity that is I think any like social media platform can have. I'm not on Letterbox, so I don't know if there's any
Yeah,
kind of like controversies yet on it, but
right. Yeah, I've started putting a list together infrequently of like the movies we've covered on the podcast, just so that I can kind of like, oh, like here's a visual representation of what we do on the show.
Mhm.
And it's been kind of interesting to sort of see where else what other lists those movies have made
Mhm.
themselves onto. But I was looking up the this book, and I didn't realize that it was part of a series, like the Orchard Hill series.
The Orchard Hill series, yeah. It's all part of like the series where it's this small town, I guess outside St. Louis,
Mhm.
Orchard Hill. It seems like, your ideal somewhat place to grow up. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone's Jewish there. It seems like kind of made it seem like that. um and yeah, so I feel like there's kind of like this core group, and it's like each person in that core group like has their kind of love story,
All that takes place during a Jewish holiday.
all that takes place during a Jewish holiday, much like
Yeah.
the one we reviewed. So, okay, let me read a synopsis of this. What we read was Coming Home to You by Rebecca Crawley, which is currently $3.99. So, here's the synopsis that I wrote earlier today. Okay. Baby delivery in aisle 11 when midwife Mabel happens to be at the hardware store as an expectant mother goes into labor. What's unexpected is the assistance of her long lost high school sweetheart Sam. Their mitzvah and reunion are a media sensation that Mabel wants to use to her advantage to raise awareness about midwifery services. However, for Sam, being in such close proximity to Mabel is just a reminder of the mistakes he made years ago when he broke things off with her. As the high holy days approach, Sam and Mabel reflect on their past hurts and fears for the future. And as romantic feelings rekindle, will Sam and Mabel greet the new year with a Shana Tova or a Shana Tata?
No notes. Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Incredible. So that was all you. That wasn't the publisher, you're
That
saying.
wasn't the publisher. I wrote it, maybe 15, no, not 15
Hours
minutes
ago,
ago,
days ago?
15 hours ago. Yeah, no, I wrote it. I feel like I was just like, let me just like put something together yesterday. But I'm not gonna say it was at all planned. Like it wasn't really edited. Like if you saw
Sure.
what I read just now, you'd be like, why are there so many typos? And how did you know
Right.
those were words?
It's all good. Um, yeah, I have you read any other Orchard Hill entries?
No
No,
other
this is it.
Orchard. Yeah, this is my first Orchard Hill. This is my first time reading this author, actually.
Okay.
Um, I have read other kind of similar books where it's like, someone come and in Jewish romances as well, where like, someone comes home to the town where they grew up and they have like unfinished business, and it's like, whatever, they reconnect with an old love or a new love, so it's not like an uncommon trope.
Right. So is it usually that the girl comes to or yeah, is it the female love interest in this case she's already part of the town and the the love interest comes back to town. Is it usually that way or is it sometimes flipped where she comes back to town and someone is there or it kind of mixes it up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen 50-50,
Okay.
honestly. Yeah,
Yeah.
where, you kind of like there's one person who's like hesitant, and then the other person who's like, I'm still here and I love it and I'm proud of it, or,
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean she's she's pretty enmeshed in the community. She's like a midwife and building
Hmm.
shelves, I guess, or whatever it is at the beginning.
They're just in
But
the
yeah,
hardware store, and
good.
that scene made me nervous. I used to work in a hardware store like over the summer, um, and like when I like in college, and like when they were like taking apart, like hang on to this towel rack, or here I'll grab you some towels, and I'm like, inventory is going to be so mad at the cash register at the end of the night. It made me so.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. My first job was working at a fabric store. So
Hmm.
prior to Joann's Fabrics being called Joann's Fabrics, it was
Hmm.
called House of Fabrics. And
Okay.
I worked at the one across the street from the Fashion Square in the Valley,
Hmm.
next door to a Blockbuster Video.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember breaking down boxes a lot. And then my best friend's mom came in to get some stuff. And I was like, like, it was out of context a little bit. It was a little
Yeah.
weird, but that's what it's like to have a first job. It's meeting interesting people, different people
Hmm.
outside of your bubble.
Yeah.
um yeah. Cool. Sorry to get us off track.
No, but
You
I
talked to
think
me about like store stuff and I'm like, oh, okay.
no, store stuff is fascinating because like I think there is something interesting about it, is that like you do like it's like seeing a teacher outside of school, you
Yep.
know, like it's this weird kind of jarring thing. So I think that's what like made that one opening moment very jarring is that, you know, Mabel had this boyfriend, Sam, who left years ago, left her brokenhearted. He has shit going on.
Hmm.
And they finally reunite and they reunite in the most like high stakes of situations. And like it it was a high concept scene that I liked. I didn't mind
Yeah.
like that's how they
Right.
reunite.
It's their nice like meet cute, essentially like she's a midwife shopping for stuff and he happens to be there also looking for stuff and
Hmm.
uh together they give birth to or they help this woman give birth to a baby and then they are interviewed on and and they go viral, which is kind of neat because then it pairs them together sort of to do all these other press interviews and things
Hmm.
like that. And but we really kind of like it goes deep, like getting into all their stuff. And this being like a Jewish novel, there's like a lot of intergenerational trauma,
Yes.
like sins
Yeah.
of our fathers kind of thing. It gets heavy a little bit.
It was really heavy. And I have to say, this was heavier than kind of most Jewish romances I've read so far. I mean, again, I've
Mm-hmm.
only read so much and there's like a gazillion out there. But this was like the first thing I read where like going back into to like intergenerational traumas, like the two characters you learn later on that their backstory is because of their parents. You know, their parents made a mistake that affected their current life, that affected their relationship from flourishing to begin with. And it was really interesting to see a flawed, a legitimately flawed, like Jewish parental figure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like with
Sure.
regrets, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and even just even acknowledging that they fucked up. You know what I
Oh
mean?
totally. Yeah, there's that nice scene towards the end where Sam goes to his dad's house in Connecticut, I think, and kind of like, Dad, what's up? Like, let's
Hmm.
talk about it. Let's hash this out so I can go, figure my shit out as well. Yeah, because I feel like typically, not to go back to that show,
Sure.
nobody wants this. Like,
Hmm.
the hot rabbi Adam Brody, he's like this rabbi going through stuff, and his parents are like the ones who kind of set him on the straight and narrow. Like, you got to marry a Jewish girl. You can't go with the shiksa or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, in this one, I think it's like they're trying to like put together their lives. They both have pretty noble professions. Like
Hmm.
Mabel is like a midwife, and he works for the UN. It sounds like.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, yeah, and now correct me if I'm wrong. It was Mabel's mom and his dad were like high school sweethearts, and then there
Correct.
was and then it was Mabel's dad and Sam's mom who were also like they didn't quite marry the right person. Like they
Exactly.
longed for each other. And
Yeah.
then did someone die? Like one of the parents?
It seemed as if like Mabel's father left, and
Mm,
then there was something about it was kind of got a little convoluted. There was something
yep.
about a car accident where
Right.
I think like Sam's dad, and this is also very interesting about the book because like this is like such a complicated backstory just for these two characters. Like this isn't even the A plot line, if you will. Like
Sure.
it's like Mabel's dad, no, wait. Sam's dad and Mabel's mom, like they were in love with each other. They had like a weird, you know, a silly little argument and they go to prom with two different people or whatever. And
Right.
so when Sam's dad is with this woman that he just like asked to prom, like
Mhm.
specifically to make Mabel's moms jealous,
Right. Right.
they get in an accident. He feels guilty and then they end up getting married, you know. So it was like kind of like this really sad, like out of guilt reason to get married.
Right. And then it seems like in the end, like both, can I spoil the
Of
book?
100%. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Spoiler alert. The
Mhm.
main characters get back together.
Yeah, can you
But
believe it?
Mabel
No.
and Sam get together,
Mhm.
but then also don't their parents get together with each other?
Yes. There's like a scene at the end where it's like, hey, like this is in the epilogue. It's real
Right.
quick. They're like, hey,
Right.
my dad's in New York with your mom right
Oh,
now. And
right.
it's like,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. So I wonder what that maybe they do a double wedding or something like that. That should be interesting.
Maybe a Benet wedding, if you will.
Totally. It's a bit like yeah, it was interesting. Um yeah, I don't there's a lot of interesting scenes. I feel like can I talk about anything or do I have
Absolutely.
to
Go
popcorn or whatever?
wherever you
Okay.
want to go. Yeah.
I feel like that sort of like heart to heart he has with like Rabbi's son Jonah, kind of
Mm-hmm.
towards the tail end of the book, where he's kind of getting his shit together and having like a serious heart to heart. Like I think after the Yom Kippur fast, they're eating like, they do a pretty good job of like infusing the Jewishness, but
Mm-hmm.
not making it seem like heavy handed,
Yes, that's
which is
my
nice.
that that was like my favorite part of this book. Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes, again, to go back to the show,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the times with Jewish stuff in media, it's either just like, yeah, this is just part of our reality and like let's not make a big deal out of it. And other times it's like, oy vey, matzo balls.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like so much, so over the top, because like the people who are making this whatever the piece of content, it's like, oh, this is the only way that it will be acceptable if it's
Mm-hmm.
like made fun of or if it's like goofy and silly. And like, I felt like this book was being pretty sincere and like, honest about certain things, and yeah, the humor was lighthearted and whatnot, but it didn't seem out of the realm of like reality, which was
Yeah.
nice.
This was like the one that I had never read anything like this book before because I feel like because like when like in real life like we're about to celebrate the high holy days, but like I feel like every year when I did celebrate it and I'm celebrating it this year, you still have like regular life going on and there's
Hmm.
like high holy days like not in the background, but it's just like it's on the back of your brain. Okay, like Thursday I'm going here, blah 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 blah. I feel like in a lot of romances, and this isn't a dig against Jewish romances, I do like it, but I think there's kind of this easy crutch of, oh, look at that. Like the Rosh Hashanah, like ball hop is going to happen at the synagogue
Right.
Friday at 8.
Right.
Like just like
Right.
making up stakes for it. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Sure.
And, and it's just like utilizing the holiday in a, I mean, like the high holidays are important holidays, but it just like
Sure.
using it in a way that doesn't feel natural to the Jewish American experience, maybe.
Yes, I mean, I personally attend my Rosh Hashanah ball every year. As always, I wear my Rosh Hashanah tuxedo and all the
Hmm.
things that Jews do.
Yeah.
No, but I feel you totally. Like, yeah, sometimes they just like make up stuff and elevate stuff, um, so that it seems fantastical or whatever. But honestly, it's like, yeah, it is challenging, I think, to be a modern, involved Jewish person to balance like, okay, so like I'm shutting my laptop down, I'm gonna change into my clothing for
Hmm.
synagogue or whatever, and then I'm gonna go and like experience all of this like, you know, heaviness or holy stuff. It's
Hmm.
it takes a lot of prep to kind of get into that mind state, which is I think why you have like the entire month preceding it of like doing all this stuff to prepare. But I
Hmm.
always seem to like scramble last minute.
Yeah,
Um,
I always feel that way too, and I think maybe just because like growing, it's hard. It's a hard transition from every day to praying or whatever,
yeah.
and I think like given that the high holidays would always happen at the start of the school year and like that's
Uh,
so big, and so like
right.
school just started, that's on the top of your brain, and then it's like, oh my God, it's the holidays suddenly, even though you knew it was
Right.
coming, you
Right.
just it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I think with work now, like I have to like set out like out of offices to people on my team and stuff, and
Hmm.
so like I want to give a heads up at least a good amount of time in advance. But then I'm always like looking at my calendar, being like, all right, in 3 days I need to like take 2 days off, and then
Hmm.
it's not to bore you with logistics, but sometimes it's like random days. It's like a Tuesday and Wednesday for 3 weeks in a row, and then it's
Hmm.
like figuring out all that kind of stuff. And I do it every week with like Shabbat, where I like turn off all the phones and the computers and whatever. And it's nice to take a break from the world, but it is like you need a little bit of time to kind of
Hmm.
to kind of like turn off that mode to get into another mode.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Once you're in that pocket, it kind of feels good to kind of then you're. I personally feel like okay, now I'm ready to kind of get into that mood of whatever it is that I'm trying to experience during the high holidays. So
Right, totally. And I think it's a common thing. I think it's just any type of transition. And I find I find that very interesting, more so than, I mean, as much as Rosh Hashanah, sock hops are, we all love that,
yeah, 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 yeah.
There is something like very real about just like seeing how like people kind of, I don't know, manage their not just their time but their energy, you know.
You're saying in this book or just in real
Just in
life in general?
general, yeah,
Oh,
in this
yeah.
book too. Like I feel like they have a lot going on. Like Sam is here to kind of he's back in town, which is a lot. The last time he left town, it was he broke Mabel's heart. His leaving on like he had a terrible not a terrible childhood, but his fraught with his parents like arguing. So he's back trying to like sell his grandma's house,
Hmm.
knowing that like his group of friends probably don't like him.
Hmm.
Mabel's there. And I feel like, again, like he does go to Rosh Hashanah services, but like I feel like the last thing on his mind is like, where do I sit? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right, right. I was missing kind of like a Sam's like a bro, like his bro, like his
Yes.
buddy. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mabel had her people, I feel like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty like a tight cast, but like Mabel had her circle of friends, and I feel like maybe they're alluding to like other books, like the names that
Mm-hmm.
pop up are like showing up in
Yeah.
other books.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would it would be nice to like hear a little bit more from Sam by way of like, oh, I'm talking to her. Like he talks to other people to kind of like do a little bit of exposition, but
Mm-hmm.
it is nice how like we sometimes get his perspective on her and her perspective on him. We kind of switch voices throughout the book, which is kind of interesting. Is that
Yeah.
a common thing?
It is, yeah.
Okay,
And I love that too. And there are books where it is just one person or it's both, but I really liked this particular reasoning for both. And you bring up a good point about like Sam not having his like bros,
sure,
and I always like find like sometimes when I read books about like when I read like 50 Shades of Grey, I thought that like what's his face was the psychopath because he had no bro friends. You know what
hmm.
I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
it just
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
feel very like I'm just like, what do you do? Like when do you shoot the shit? Like what do you do when like nothing's going on? With this though, like I didn't really necessarily have that issue just because like this was a guy who openly admitted like I am lonely. Like he got in a car
Right,
accident,
right,
no one visited him. He's clearly not talking to his dad or his brother or just distant from his dad, brother and mom. Like
sure,
it really kind of like the fact that he didn't have his bros it really affected him, and it wasn't
sure.
just like random.
Right. But it would have been, I mean, I'm not like rewriting the book anytime soon, but it
Mhm.
like you go to the local like small town bar and you like
Mhm.
talk to the barkeep and he like tells you like, you know, barkeeper wisdom or something like that.
Yeah.
Just something for him to be able to like express himself because there was a lot of like inner monologue stuff where like, oh, I messed up, I should have da da da,
Mhm.
she's great, um but what can you do? Maybe in the next one. Who knows?
Yeah. In the next one, hopefully, maybe him and Jonah are now like bro. I mean, I'm assuming that they're bros now, and I just want to read. Now, I
Oh,
just want to read like a bro
oh,
friendship story.
there was Jonah. You're right. Like, what am I saying? I
Yeah.
feel like he did come out of nowhere. Like we hadn't heard from Jonah
Yes.
before that scene, right?
Yeah, we hadn't heard from him before. I believe he's the love interest in the previous book.
Oh,
So I
okay.
think maybe that's why, because I didn't read the previous book. So it did. So there were a lot of characters that felt like it came out of nowhere, and I think Ellie and Jonah. I think they're a couple. It was
Okay.
them who kind of like they were like actually like kind of important elements to the plot in terms of like the will they won't they of it all.
Hmm.
But you kind of don't really see them that much. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from what I understand, I think there's a fourth book.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if it has some of these characters are new characters, but I don't know what holiday it takes place in, but
Yeah. I have a feeling it's Hanukkah, although I would
okay.
love to read a Sukkot one. Um, but it
Yeah.
because that would be fun. I have a feeling it's Hanukkah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it's his brother coming back.
Ooh, Sam's
Um,
brother.
yeah, Zach
Oh,
is
neat.
coming back to find himself. I think it's another like I'm
Sure.
finding myself, blah blah
Sure.
blah blah blah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds good. I'm into
yeah.
that. Do you
Mhm.
go ahead?
Oh no, I was gonna say it is interesting what you bring up about the friends thing again. Is that like I think something that's like very common when you belong to a temple, and then especially one that you've been going to since you were younger, is
Yeah.
just you do have this crew. Like it just made me think like there was this. family who like our grandfathers died around the same time of year, and
Okay.
so their names were
Sure.
always said at the Yahrzeit. So it was like once a
Sure.
year. It was like, yeah, it's our like dead grandpa crew. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Trauma
like
bonding for sure.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you just like have like kind of like that kind of like even if you haven't seen them in a while, you kind of just
Sure.
like pick up where you left off, kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, we call them shul friends. It's
Shul
like,
friends, yeah.
yeah, or synagogue friends or whatever. Like, it's like, all right, nice to see you. We'll sit next to you at the meal after
Hmm.
services or whatever. But like, we're not hanging out during the week, of course. We're just
Yeah.
gonna see you on services for sure. I
Hmm.
get that. We had some of those. I grew up in North Hollywood, and like we went to a couple different synagogues. Um, but I had like friends from my day school that would go to the Ashkenaz shul
Hmm.
that, and then there was a Sephardic shul where I went to that like less of my classmates went to. A few of them were there, but there were definitely people that we, you know, knew from there, but outside of, maybe Shabbat meals or whatever, we weren't like a tight knit crew in that way. But
Hmm.
so I related in that way, but I don't remember the name of the synagogue. I know in that show, what was it? Nobody wants this. Like it's
Yeah.
called Temple Chai. A little
Temple
lazy,
High.
but whatever.
I know. I was like, sometimes it's hard for me not to like be like the what was the meeting like when they were like
Right.
coming up with that name? You know
Sure.
what I mean? Of like,
Sure.
what do we call the temple? And it's like a 10-hour long meeting.
And let's just go with the first answer, best answer kind of thing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's usually
Hmm.
like a Beth something or
Hmm. Hmm. And
whatever.
this one was Temple Sinai, I believe.
Okay.
I
Yep.
think so. Yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah.
There is a Temple Sinai in LA as well. I think that
Yes.
is, and it's a notable mountain to the Jewish people. That is where the Torah was given.
I mean, we love Sinai. We love Cedar Sinai. We love the
Yes.
story of, I mean, Sinai, what a great.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Used to be
what
called
Moses said.
It used to be called Cedars of Lebanon for some reason. I mean, I
Interesting.
don't remember why they changed it, but
Hmm.
yeah. Fun fact.
That is good
Glad
to
that
know.
I glad that I said
No,
that.
I'm glad I know. Now it's like now I have something to bring up because I everyone I know goes there. So I
Okay.
could be like,
Oh,
"Did you know?" Like blah 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 blah. So there you
right.
go.
There it is. There it is. I'm trying to think. I took some notes as far as like some highlighted
Sure.
Jewish passages.
Yes.
Um
Oh, I would love to
ear
talk about that.
Early on,
Hmm.
like there's some stuff about, let's see. I mean, there's all this Jewish stuff towards the end, but like very specific stuff, like the Edam cheese, which was like the foil wrapped one. That's like a very specific Jewish reference about a
Hmm.
particular type of cheese. And then uh, I don't know. I read it on Kindle, so
Hmm.
I did like that highlight. This is my first Kindle book that I've read, so I highlighted a bunch of stuff, and it saves it all for me, which
I know.
is I sound like such a Luddite. I'm like, have you heard of an electronic book called an ebook?
No, I mean, it is fascinating. I do the same thing too, to the point where sometimes when I read a paper book, I'll like put my finger on a word
Oh,
sometimes and I'll be like, what am I doing?
yeah. This is a new thing for me, so apologies if this is like, yeah, duh, no shit,
No.
you could do this.
It's very exciting to see you be excited about the capabilities of the Kindle app available on Amazon.
Yeah. I mean, there was just so much, and then I think, at the beginning, like Mabel closed her eyes for a single second and thought, as she always did, of her biblical predecessors, Shifra and Pua, who
Hmm.
defied Pharaoh to protect a generation of Hebrew sons. She recalled their courage, let it fill her heart, and opened her eyes with renewed bravery and confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a pretty, like, I think it's probably referring to her, doing her midwife duties. I
Hmm.
believe probably in the store, but like
Hmm.
that's like a deep cut.
Yeah, I had to look it up. I didn't know. Like it was like because it's like part of the story where like it's like two women who the pharaoh said kill all the Jewish babies and
Mhm.
they didn't, and they claim like part of their reasoning was like, well, the baby's already born very strong because of the mother's body. And
Uh-huh.
like it's very fascinating because like I went to a baby naming recently, and for the first time the rabbi was talking about like the power of a woman's body
Oh, nice.
and celebrating it as much as like the new baby of course, which was
Right.
very exciting. And so it was like I did feel like a lot of like the reverence of a woman's body woman's body in this was felt very Jewish, even during the parts when it wasn't like specifically being like called out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think Mabel is like a very strong woman and she is like doing, selfless work kind of,
Hmm.
she's her whole like she's not doing it for the likes or for the viral fame or whatever. Her
Hmm.
goal in this, she's exploiting the viral fame to kind of like ride that so that she can plug her work's midwifery program, which is like in danger of being shut down. So she's like, oh, let me,
Hmm.
plug it and so that's like it's really a noble gesture to do. So
Yeah.
good on you, Mabel Antonoff.
Yeah, good job, Mabel. So, do you think in real life, like Mabel, okay, so in the book, Mabel and Sam are, kind of like going on these interview things. You have like the public being like, are they going to get back together? And
Mm-hmm.
of course, they get back together. This is a romance novel. Do you think in real life they would have gotten back together? I had the same response.
Yeah, I don't know. Sam, like, I guess, like, they describe his like body like he has like bourbon hair or whatever, however they describe him. So, like, if he's like a hot dude and like, I don't know what Mabel's like social life is like, but like she seems like a catch,
Hmm.
and like he seems like kind of a dirtbag,
Yeah.
um, who works like a job that takes him away from the house all the time.
Hmm.
So to me, that's just like, yeah, no, no thanks. Like you broke my heart, you came back to sell your, and we had this thing, but like, yeah, whatever. It's like I don't quite understand the attraction but in real life, I'd just be like, yeah, this is not working. You're like a workaholic, you're
Hmm.
trouble. We had this thing. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna move on. I don't
Yeah,
know.
totally. Like I felt like, thinking about like their tragic breakup happens before they leave for college. They're in high school. And it's so hard. Not that I'm like, I mean, high school kids' problems are important. They are, you know. But me looking back at my life at that time, the things that I found very tragic, I look back and realize maybe it's not that big of a deal as much as it hurt then. And that for me, like being dumped for the first time when you're in high school, for
Oh,
me, it kills. I get it, but
oh
it
yeah.
does fall into that category of like, you were young.
Maybe it's time to get over it, Mabel, Like
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
And
she
yeah.
seems like it really informed her being, like who she is, and is
Yeah.
not able to like forget that. um but yeah, I don't quite know the circumstances. Like he just like pieced out and was like, I'm done, like he went off to college.
Yeah, like I think what happened was, and this is actually pretty interesting, his parents caught the two of them together
Right.
and very much embarrassed them,
Yeah,
I think as
sure.
well in like a very vulnerable state. I think the mom, Sam's mom was upset not only because her son's having sex, but like also because it's um Mabel is the daughter of the woman who
Right,
is
sure.
my husband's in love with, so I think there was that. And then I think like so like Mabel's embarrassed. She's kind of branded and sort of they could allude to her being branded as like a slut or whatever.
Hmm.
And then Sam's dad sits him down and he was like, "Don't make the same mistakes I made," alluding to he got his wife pregnant and they had to get
Ah,
married and he didn't
right.
want his son to do the same thing. And
Sure.
like that's why they left. That's why Sam left.
Ah,
Hmm.
okay, got it. So
Yeah.
it was really like they forced Sam's hand a little bit.
It was forced. Exactly. And that's
Hmm.
another reason why, like,
Interesting. Maybe
they
I'm
have
rethinking my
another,
answer.
like, yeah, like they have another kind of, well, they have like another breakup. It's the Act Three breakup where they're in New
Right.
York. They have this great night, and he, discovers that his dad had the affair, and he wants to leave to talk to his dad right now, right away. He has to do
Right.
it for some
Pick up
reason.
a phone.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, like, it's just like, wait, this is fine. Also, why can't there was a lot of like things where
FaceTime? Like,
exactly, yeah. And also, they're in New York. He's going to Connecticut. Not like it's not that far of a drive, right? Like, or am I?
I mean, it's not close and it's
It's not
not,
close.
and it's like at midnight post-coital, you're just hooking up with your high school. Like, that
Yeah,
seems weird. Like, I have to go talk to my daddy right now.
exactly.
But
weird. And the
yes,
one thing I respect is that maybe the traffic was okay. Like maybe he got there in 3 hours instead of four.
but that's still like that's a lot of driving.
So much driving to just like get in your car after like, and also after having like, he has this like, he gets this news, this, and it's like this bombshell. So it's like, he, like, all of reality that he thought he knew is shattered in a way. And then he's like, well, I need to get to work and get behind the wheel. And it's like, give yourself a second to breathe.
Yeah. Ugh. And I think his dad, like, there was a moment where I was like, his dad is warning him not to drive. And then
Hmm.
he was like, no, I'm going to drive. And I thought, okay, Sam's actually going to die. I thought it maybe was going to go
Oh.
that direction.
Hmm.
Luckily, he didn't, but, father knows best. But it is kind of like a weird thing that he needs to kind of like make right with his dad before he then, proceeds to, he completely like misses
Yeah,
the talk show segment, right? But then he comes
exactly.
back for the second half.
Yeah, what happens is that like he leaves and she is very upset. And I
Mhm.
think by this point we've kind of like, she kind of discovers that the reason why the breakup hurt so much is that, her father left her
Right.
and then he left her. So it's clear that she has like some sort of well, like abandonment issues to say the very
Everybody
least.
has daddy issues in this book.
Exactly. And so when he walks out this kind of this third time for her to see his dad, she treats it as if he is like honestly like off to go fight in a war she doesn't agree
Right.
with. It was a
Hmm.
lot.
Right. Like her
And
reaction to it.
exactly, yeah. And I feel like given the previous time he did that, he was a high schooler who was being forced by his dad to do it. And then I just felt like he was taking on a level of guilt that maybe he didn't need to take on about
Hmm.
that, and that she was kind of giving him. You know what I mean?
She was giving him a lot of guilt, like giving him a hard
A
time.
little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
like we all make mistakes when we're in high school. Like we all make, and it's
sure.
like I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, he did kind of apologize, and then there are these moments where like the narrator is like, and then she felt okay with it, and then like there are different points where it's like, achievement unlocked in video game terms, where
Yes.
like I finally like gotten over this shit. Like
Mhm.
both Mabel and Sam were like, there were points where the author like clearly spelled out like, okay, this obstacle is no longer an
Yeah.
issue. We're going to check. We're going to move on. We're cleared,
Mhm.
for boarding. So,
Yeah.
um, but they did do a good job of like at least having some sort of like inner, you know, dialogue about, I feel conflicted about this, da da da. But now I think I should kind of let it go so that I
Mhm.
can not be burdened by this stuff anymore, not have it,
Absolutely.
yeah, bother me. So,
Yeah. So I think like what happened at the end is he takes his dad's advice and doesn't get in the car right away. He sleeps for an hour, so just to, we get it. Very safe. And he comes back like just as the episode starts airing. And she basically says this thing of like she's ready to move on. He's not in her life. Like that's it, folks, and like doesn't want to see him. And he's kind of there the whole time, just watching the feed at the studio.
mhm.
And then they both go back on their separate flights, and that's like you think, okay, they are done. And then more or less Sam has his bro talk with Jonah, and there we go. His final Sam's like final kind of like I don't know what's it called, like when you like proclamation of love, if you will, is
Yes, yeah.
he's like walking from shul to
All
her
right.
apartment.
After Yom Kippur,
Yes, like on a fully newly full stomach, which is like there's that feeling.
bad
A
idea.
stiff leg, like he walks 3 miles.
Right. But then he says something like, "Oh, I'm like that guy in the movie." Like he like is calling her up, and he's like, "It's like that scene in the movie where the guy's
Hmm.
coming." So they're at least aware of these tropes and kind of acknowledging them to
Yeah.
be like, "We get it. We get it. It's
Hmm.
that time." So,
Yeah.
um, but it was not. I mean, that's I don't know the time passing, but it seems like Rosh Hashanah was before the talk show stuff, and then Yom Kippur is like a week later.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
some time has elapsed at this point,
Yeah.
presumably.
Hmm.
And then that's when they kind of he walks to her, she's at her home, and then he comes, and that's when
Hmm.
that proclamation happens.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, she can meet him halfway. Like
Right. Oh, she
another
could go pick him up,
I
right?
know. I mean, I get it. Like the thing is, I loved this book, and like I loved
Yeah.
picking apart these like little things. But
Sure, sure,
it's
sure,
just
sure.
like, come he like another thing about his kind of backstory is that he had a major injury. He was on
Mhm.
his bike and got hit by a car, and like I think what this book does well is kind of deal with like kind of like the mental health issues that can come with injuries and what he was
Mhm.
dealing with. And so he's like, I'm walking, and she's like, oh, I'll wait here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you're right. But it was nice that like Mabel is able to use her gift of like healing people to like, get him a PT and doing the
yes.
exercises.
Hmm.
PT is a very important Jewish tradition, getting all those aches and pains out and
That
things like
is
that. So
so funny because it's so funny you say that because this isn't the first time I've read a Jewish romance where like PT is mentioned. Like the importance of like mind body holistic
sure.
healing.
And we're just for those who are not aware, it's physical therapy. We're not talking about any sort of like
Hmm.
weird, it's not a
No,
kink or whatever. This is down the road, like doing exercises to strengthen your body so you don't hurt anymore.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah. So you don't pull out
yeah,
your back when you like get up in the morning, you know. Yeah. It's
yeah.
like that kind of stuff. But it is like I don't know. It is it Jewish to you? Just this like kind of like mind body connection, like with your experience. Like, do you find that kind of like oh the mind informs with the body informs the mind kind of thing? Do you find that like relevant to Judaism?
The mind and body connection.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I was more thinking about like PT just in a sense that like people are always complaining about their backs or their like
A
wrists
hundred
or
percent.
whatever. And
Yeah.
like it's a
Everything
lot of
hurts. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
complaining and you're like, oh, how you doing? Oh, how are the
Yeah.
kids? Oh, how's your back? Oh, my hip, my back, my knee.
Exactly.
So it's like that to me
Mm-hmm.
was where I was going, but you're asking like a much more deep
I
question.
think I am.
Yeah.
Um, but then it's funny you say that because one time I met a group of people at a park and I was like sitting down because they were all sitting on blankets and I like groaned sitting down and they all looked at me so worried. They're like, "Are you okay?" And I wanted to be like, "I'm Jewish." Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
I'm fine. Um, I do feel like the other day I went kayaking or no stand-up paddleboarding
Hmm.
or maybe it was kayaking. I forget. It was one of those two and I think I was kayaking
Hmm.
and then I had like a delicious Mexican meal afterwards. So it was
Hmm.
like a double whammy of like perfection
Yeah,
and it was a beautiful day
great day.
and then I was as I was like sitting, I was like I feel like I'm high. Like this is such a good feeling
Hmm.
and like, I had not I'm not under the influence at that time and like I was like this is feeling great and so like I feel like for me having good exercise or some sort of activity to kind of like exercise the body makes my mind feel good. I don't
Hmm.
know if that answers your question or not,
It
but yeah,
absolutely does. Yeah, because I think even now, like you see, there's yoga classes in
sure.
synagogues and JCCs now,
Oh,
and
right,
like
right.
there is like a bit of a connection there. So I thought that was kind of cool. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so I want to ask your final thoughts on the book. If you have any notes
Sure.
that you want to get out right now that we didn't cover,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna ask you for a rating.
Oh,
Now, in this rating, I this is going to air right before Yom Kippur, so after Rosh Hashanah, but I'm doing a Rosh Hashanah based rating anyway, because
okay.
why not? You
Yep.
have 5 apple slices to dip in
Mm,
honey.
okay.
1 out of 5 apple slices you are dipping in honey means you didn't like it. 5 out of 5 means you loved it. So give your apple slice rating and your final notes.
Okay. Um, I think overall, this is my first, romance novel that I read, so I don't have a lot of comparison, but
Sure.
I appreciate the opportunity to like read something and doubly appreciate that it was like timely and that it's like Rosh Hashanah themed. And I thought that, like we said, I thought the book did a really good job of like, you know, painting a picture of like a romance novel and making it Jewish, but not like corny and
Hmm.
over the top and hokey. And that respected, aspects of Jewish tradition in a good way. So in that regard, I'll probably go like a 3.5 apples in honey, if that
Okay.
works. Yeah.
I'll allow for that. Yeah, we'll just
Three and a
deal
half or
like a
four. Yeah.
yeah, like shoot off apple. We'll just throw that away. It's fine. You
Yeah.
don't have to
Yeah.
finish your apple, guys. No one
Okay.
has to finish. It's
Yeah.
okay. Um, it's funny.
How
Like
about yourself?
exactly. Like I found it like um again, I feel like this was one of the better Jewish romances that I've read for the
Hmm.
reasons that you're saying. Like it's not really corny. It felt very realistic. And I also thought like it was it was romantic. There
Hmm.
was a level of like I think they had really good chemistry. There were some cute lines,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
cute kissing moments that are going to stay with me. Um there are like times where I just like and I'm really criticizing it. So I'm like saying 4 and like 0.75 apples. Like
Whoa.
there's just I there was something about it that worked, but there were a few things I'm like, "Oh, that could have been amped up a bit." Like, "Oh,
Sure.
this kind of felt unreal." Things like that. But I really enjoyed reading this. I thought it was a
Yeah.
great book.
Now I feel bad that I gave it 3.5.
Are you kidding me? I to this day I am up at night about the terrible score I gave Coming Home to You on your podcast.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I think it's a thing where on our own, I don't know. This is just
Hmm.
me, but when you go
Yeah,
on someone else's podcast and you
sure.
rate it, you rate terribly or not terribly, harshly.
Actually,
You rated fine. I'm talking about myself maybe. I'll like be
sure.
like,
Okay.
yeah, I guess it was like a whatever. And then like I go home that night thinking like, oh my God, that was so harsh on my show. I would give some, do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. I mean, I did like it. I thought like, you know, if we had a bartender, I'd give it another couple of points.
Exactly.
If we got, maybe I don't know what else I would want out of this book. I thought it was pretty good, like, and like yeah, it was great and it was interesting. I read a good portion of it, but then as I was cramming to kind of finish the book
Hmm.
in time, I used the Kindle. This sounds like a commercial, the
Yeah.
assistive reader feature, where
I
it's just
use it
like
all the time. I use it all the time.
so it did a wonderful job with the Hebrew words
Hmm.
in robot voice.
Good job. Good job, robots.
I'm, I'm being completely sarcastic. I butchered them all.
Oh, never mind. I full on would have believed you if I'm like,
Oh
okay, look at
no.
that. AI evolving.
Oh yeah, I wish. So I kind of enjoyed the back half of the book with the robo voice, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Maybe I am being too harsh, but maybe you're right. It is like a sort of when you're in someone else's home, you kind of you know are not as generous.
Yeah.
So
I think
I
it's
don't know.
like kind of like it's a more of a phenomena of
Okay,
like, yeah, just experiencing something else for the first time. You know what I
right.
mean? And it's like exciting. It's also very
Yeah,
exciting. Yeah.
yeah. It is cool. So thank you for introducing me to this book and
Oh
to this
my
Orchard
gosh.
Hill world. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me in Orchard Hill as well
Hmm.
as on this podcast. Please tell us about Jews on Film, where we can find you, all the
Sure.
details, because it is really such a great podcast. I love listening to it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so Juice on Film is a podcast that I co-host with my friend Harry Ottensaucer. And what we do is we invite guests on, such as yourself, and we look at a film, old and new, through our unique Jewish lens, is what we call it. We both wear glasses. That's a bad joke. Never mind. But we kind of like look at it through, the cast and crew. We talk about the production of the film, the themes that we kind of like notice throughout the film, and then we have like a stretch read where we kind of find something that's not intended to be Jewish by the filmmakers and the actors, and we kind of read some Jewishness into it, and then we rate it not by apple slices but by like Jewish stars. So, and you can find that like anywhere you find podcasts. I was about to say Jewish
Yeah.
podcasts, but anywhere you find Jewish podcasts. No, anywhere on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and then we're on social media at Jews on Film or at Jews on Film Pod on Twitter and Instagram and all that thing. So we're taking the month of October off for the high holidays.
Mhm.
Gets a little bit busy, but we're
Sure.
excited. We have a exciting slate coming up, and we're always open to new movies and things like that. So you can reach out
Great.
to us and find out more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. It really means the world that you took the time to read this book
Yeah,
just
sure.
for my little old podcast. So thank you
Ab-
so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. And to you and to all the Jewish listeners, Shana Tova, Happy New Year. May it be a sweet New Year, and may everyone who's listening be inscribed into the good book. A book of, I don't know, what is it? What's it called? Like
The book of
the book of life, right?
Book of Life. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tree of
but
Life?
like
No. Yeah. Nope.
anyway, I think it you got it. Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
I 100% get it. Listen, we get
yeah.
it.
I'm just wishing good tidings to all or whatever, you know.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
exactly. Well, good tidings to you, as the Jews say.
Famous Jewish expression.
The famous Jewish expression. Thank you again. This was so
Yeah, my
fun.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
If you like today's episode and want to support the podcast, you can follow the show on social media at TSTL Podcast across all of the social medias. Also, TSTL just launched a page on buymeacoffee.com where fans can directly support their favorite creators. It's basically what I'm using until I get like my life together to create a Patreon account. So, anyway, you can give TSTL a happy ending in exchange for a shout out on the podcast and other goodies. You can check out that page at buymeacoffee.com/TSTL podcast. And if you didn't like today's episode, I'm sure you're not even here right now listening to me talk. So, why am I talking to the people who didn't like today's episode? Anyway, to the rest of you, thank you so much for listening and have a great rest of your day.